Hello, and thank you for listening. My name is Luke Mardigan, and I own the Mardigan Agency with Farm Bureau Insurance of Michigan. And as always, I am joined by my special co-host,
Eric Gestring, the Mardigan Agency.
And my special guest,
Alec Nuremberg,
Director of Operations with the Mardigan Agency. He forgets that he has a fancy title. A lot of people ask me why I have a radio show. Well, the reality is that we've been able to accomplish something that very few have in the captive insurance agent space, and that is we have a self-managing team and a sales system that is fully scalable. And today what that's allowed us to do is build a book size, double the average book size in our company. And today we're going to share one of the concepts we use to run that self-managing team and to have a sales team that's fully scalable, and that is a concept that we call a no-brainer.
Right. So last episode, we briefly explained the concept of no-brainers. It never happens. We're going to dig into the no-brainer aspect a little bit more, and Luke's going to define that a little bit more intensively right now.
Is that a word?
I think so. We're going to use it. Intensely.
Jot that.
That's like a 40-point Scrabble word, Eric. You win.
That's episode 5.
That's it. Intensively. So, the reality is for no-brainers, there are promises you make. So we don't call it customer service, call it customer fulfillment. There are promises that you make as a salesperson that your customer fulfillment team fulfills. So for instance, if you go to McDonald's and you order a cheeseburger, what do you think should be on that burger when you get it?
Cheese.
Cheese.
Definitely.
Why?
Cheese.
Because it's a cheeseburger.
Because it's a no-brainer, right? That's what it's called, right? If you order a beer at a bar, do you expect to get water or a beer?
A beer.
And why is that?
Because it's a no-brainer.
That's what I ordered.
It's fulfillment.
The expectation.
You're filling the order,
yes,
right?
Right. I expect to get a beer, and you deliver that.
And it's really an unspoken social contract, right? It's not a concept that is like, it's not on the wall. Like, whatever you order, we promise to deliver exactly what you order.
Right.
It's a no-brainer. When you give an order to your waiter or waitress, they write it down and they bring it. And if it's not right, what do?
They take it back and change it.
Right, because their job is to fulfill the order.
Right.
Well, and reality is the more often you have to send stuff back because they forgot something, the less money the restaurant makes.
Yes.
Right? Because there's not only hard costs of the food they delivered that was wrong,
but satisfaction is not there, right? For the client.
Are we talking about restaurants still?
Yeah.
Okay. Just want to make sure.
The satisfaction of the consumer, the client, is not being met.
So
if you have to send your food back, then you're obviously not satisfied. So what is the likelihood of you coming back there if that's something that happens?
So that would be, I guess, an unknown opportunity cost.
Yeah, there's a lot of costs associated.
Yeah. But from a business perspective, we look at hard costs and then opportunity costs. Okay, hard costs are really easy to measure. Opportunity costs are very difficult to measure. So hard cost is the loss of the meal, the time that it took the cook to make that meal that is now not going to be paid for or consumed, and the time of the waitress to then return it back to the kitchen. And if it's a good restaurant, they're going to have a manager come out and speak with you, and that manager's time is worth more than the cooks or the waiter or waitresses, the servers, right?
And you've extended the time that those customers are at that table.
Which
not only that,
which means you can't.
It's every table that she's delayed on making it to now, even if it's a few seconds. I mean,
it goes on and on and
tables.
on.
Yeah, right.
Yes, and then all the electricity and all those are all hard costs that you actually probably, if you really sat down, I'm sure somebody has an algorithm, you can figure out the cost of it. But then you have the opportunity costs, which is similar to what you're talking about, Eric, where if the client isn't happy and they don't because they got the wrong meal and they don't return, or they don't recommend your restaurant to other people, that's money that you didn't even know that you lost.
Right.
And that's a extra meal that you didn't plan for on your order with your supplier when it comes to food, because they have kind of a number of steaks they know they're going to sell or burgers, and they buy that much for it and plan for it. Well, that's a meal that wasn't planned for. Multiply that over 10 or 20 patrons because this waitress is waiter or waitress is terrible. And you're talking about, tens of thousands of dollars lost by one server not doing their job.
Especially if we're talking Morton's or something like that.
Yeah,
a steakhouse.
A high-end steakhouse or something, right? Or if they take the order as medium and the chef doesn't cook it right or doesn't cook it right.
And that's long run opportunity costs for the consumer. There's an opportunity cost for the establishment too.
Yes.
You know, the longer it takes to serve one table, that's an opportunity loss. You know, that's one less table they're going to have before the doors close for the night.
Yep.
I think that paints the picture really good for a no-brainer. And I think a lot of the listeners are wondering, how do you get there? How do we get those no-brainers figured out, Luke?
Well, you know, first you have to define what a no-brainer is. Okay. So a no-brainer is really just a common sense preventative fulfillment. It's common sense preventative fulfillment. We're all used to preventative maintenance, right?
Yes.
If you have a fleet, you take your trucks in and you get the oil changed. We worked with the guy up in Whitehall who had his own mechanic in-house because he had so many vehicles that constantly needed work.
It became more cost-effective to have
him internal because the maintenance of the vehicle represents an opportunity cost that could be lost later on down the road, right? There's a hard cost of maintaining the vehicle, but if your vehicle breaks down on the way to a sales call, there's also lost cost or lost revenue from the opportunities you can't now go service because your vehicle's down for X amount of time.
Yep.
And that's what a lot of salespeople early on don't realize. Like if you miss a sales call, like you didn't just miss that one. You potentially missed an entire day of calls just because you didn't want to spend an extra $300 a month on a lease. Or
so
whatever.
It became a no-brainer for him to hire a full-time mechanic.
Yes, right. And like for me, it became a no-brainer to upgrade in vehicles after my second time of having a vehicle breakdown.
Yep.
Right.
That vehicle broke down twice. Yep. It's not reliable.
Eliminate the risk
of
having that.
Tons of money, not including the hard cost of the repairs. Right. Yep. So it is common sense preventative. We're all used to preventative maintenance. This is preventative fulfillment. This is fulfilling the promise before the client even knows that you've made it.
Mm-hmm.
So it's preventative fulfillment. It allows you to prevent messes and headaches and disruptions that in your business. So a good example is, the cheeseburger. Okay. Common sense preventative fulfillment says that every cook will be trained and know that a cheeseburger requires however many slices of cheese you put on your cheeseburger, right? Every place you go, it might have one, it might be two, it might, whatever their process is. So that cook, if they're trained properly, they're already fulfilling the promise you've made just because they know what to do and how to do it. And that prevents messes like we just talked about with the back and forth with the kitchen and all the hard costs and opportunity costs. So that's what a no-brainer is. It's preventative fulfillment. So we think of customer service. Reality is it's not customer service. It's customer fulfillment. Your salespeople made a promise. It's your service team's job to fulfill that promise.
Yep. Right.
So for us in our world, our sales team promises clients that we will give them the peace of mind of knowing their insurance will do exactly what you need it to do, when you need it the most, right? And so Eric, you're sitting out with the client and you're going, look, you don't got to worry about a thing. We wrote this right. If the time comes and you have something happen to your house that insurance should cover, your policy is going to cover it, right?
Yep.
So a good example of this that we ran across not too long ago is we have two homeowners policies that we could sell. One is a basic, broad form perils, which is 16 named perils. So it's weight of ice and snow, water, fire, wind, stuff like that. Okay, so there's 16 of them. The real basic things, foundational things. We also have our special form, which is it covers anything that could happen to your house except for certain few. That which is expressly excluded. So, collapse of your foundation due to shifting of the ground would not be covered. So, like if you just have it's not normally covered. We can add it by endorsement, but if you have a pocket of water that forms next to your foundation and it freezes and pushes your foundation in, collapse due to hydrostatic pressure is what that's called, then that wouldn't be covered by special forms because it's excluded. Okay. Your business operations, if you run we're all working from home in this pandemic world, your business operations are excluded from your homeowners. So that's not covered by special perils, but everything else pretty much is. Well, the price difference is depending on how big your house is, $5 to $20 a month difference to go from 16 named perils to thousands of potential causes of loss, thousands of potential claims that could be paid, or 16 for $5 to $20 a month. I would call that a
no-brainer.
No-brainer, right? There should never be a circumstance where we write a policy on broad form rather than special form just because it's a no-brainer, right? That's preventative fulfillment. We are before you even realize that it would be a problem that you're on broad form, we've already fulfilled our promise that when you have a claim, you got nothing to worry about. Your policy will do what you need it to do. Right. That's preventative fulfillment. And that's a great example. So the question you asked though was, how do you do this?
Yep.
Like, as a business owner, how do you put this stuff into place?
Correct.
All right. So step one is you have to identify what those no-brainers are.
Yep.
The only way to do that is to know why you're actually in business, right? If I go to a dive bar, like the purpose of dive bars is they're the dark hole that everybody goes to
where
escape.
Nobody can find you.
Yeah. You don't want people to know you're there.
Right.
And you definitely don't go to the dive bar expecting world-class service, right? They exist. Especially you have your hidden ones. We just went to Nob Hill Tavern in St. John's, Michigan.
Great spot.
Yeah. Nob Hill has some of the best pizza
It's good pizza.
ever, on the planet.
Pizza.
And you drive by it, you don't even know they're in business, right? So they exist that, they have great service and their food's good and they have a pretty good selection of alcohol and stuff. But typically you go to a dive bar and you just want pub food, right? You want some chips and a burger and some chicken fingers and just finger food,
Right.
And so if they get the order wrong,
you're okay with it.
They fulfilled their promise of giving you a dark hole to disappear into, right?
Yeah.
That's the promise.
Yeah.
But if you're going to Ruth Chris, you're expecting $100 steak.
Yes.
Right? And you're expecting that they're going to have top shelf alcohol, and you're expecting that your server is going to be a well-trained, polite, accurate server.
Right. You're going to teach me how to eat it if I don't know.
Yes.
Down to that. Yeah.
And what to pair it with.
Yes, exactly.
They're folding your napkin back up on your table in a little pyramid shape. When you go to the bathroom, you come back, it's all neatly folded on your table.
Right.
That's the level of service you're expecting. Okay. So in your business, you have to identify what promise is it that you're fulfilling. Why are you in business? Are you a restaurant? And I'm just using the food industry because I think we can all relate to it. We've all ate at crappy restaurants. We've all ate at really good ones, right? We've all kind of have that experience. Mm-hmm. Jimmy John's. I'm staring at Jimmy John's here in downtown Lansing, Michigan. Freaky fast, right? They're promising they're going to get you that food fast
in less than 5 minutes. I think that's their time,
right?
which is incredible,
right?
Yeah.
So they shrink their delivery area so they can deliver on that promise.
Right.
So there's a good example of a no-brainer. Jimmy John's. We want to get it to you in 5 minutes or less. If we promise you 5 minutes or less, and we make our territory for that one store 20 miles around, can you fulfill that promise?
No. So, you're letting everybody down.
So a good example of a no-brainer, preventative fulfillment, is to shrink that your delivery territory down to probably 4 minutes.
Right.
Give yourself a minute buffer so that you can actually fulfill that promise, and it's a no-brainer. And for the client, they don't even think twice about it. The customer's not ordering going, man, I hope they get here in 5 minutes. They just know that's going to happen. It's a no-brainer. That's why you order from Jimmy John's. You're not ordering Jimmy John's because the calories are so low and they're going to make you shred it. You're ordering from them because you know that they're going to deliver a sandwich, and it's the same sandwich every time, and it's going to get to you in less than 5 minutes or whatever, right? So you have to identify it. You have to figure out with that no-brainer, if it's something that isn't actively being worked, you have to identify the cause of why it's not.
Yes.
So so if Jimmy John's is promising 5 minutes and then they're figuring out, wow, half our orders are taking more than 5 minutes, they'd have to identify the cause of that. So you identify what it is that you're promising, and then you figure out what the cause is. So preventative maintenance, brakes are going bad on 2 trucks. Well, why is that? It's a no-brainer that you want your brakes to work. Oh, well, these 2 guys are the guys who haul trailers, so maybe we should put better brakes on it. That would be the cause, is they're hauling trailers. Right. Once you figure out the cause, then you invent solutions. That would be putting the bigger brakes on it, shrinking the territory, making sure that we could solve the broad versus special form just by making it a policy that we always write special form.
Avoid stop signs, stoplights. It will prolong the brakes. Anything.
On routes. Yeah. And just some type of solution. And this is where you need team effort. You need to work one-on-one with your people to come up with the solutions are, and talk to your clients about what matters to them too, right?
Yeah. I wanted to mention that client feedback is where huge. You're going to get a lot of this. You can go about it, a few different ways. You can have experience in, so there's a media, maybe next episode we'll get into that. That's a little deep.
But client feedback could be a great way to come up, not only identify it and know the cause, but also to invent solutions. And then you have to implement those solutions, and you have to actually hold people accountable and make sure that there's some type of oversight, audit it so that this fix is actually implemented. And then it becomes a true no-brainer where every single time you order from Jimmy John's, it's the same sub and it's being delivered in 5 minutes. And that's how you run a business on no-brainers.
Yes.
So this is going to be a topic of conversation for the rest of 2021. If you want to hear about how to implement no-brainers into your business to prevent headaches and messes and challenges with clients, then stay tuned to Be Insured and check us out on Facebook and Instagram at The Mardigan Agency. And we'll see you next time on Be Insured.